Go. Well, hello, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm good and I'm excited. This is a topic I'm super passionate about. We're gonna go really deep in this. Actually, it's funny because we're gonna have an interview with you, but not with you live. It's gonna be a recording. So we're about to go to a recording here in a second that you guys need to see.
Yeah. I
Um,
almost wore the same outfit, but I was like, eh.
Well, I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if she's going to end up doing that. So this segment of Successes Under Your Command is newsletter hacks that turn special interest into closed business. And I am joined here by the illustrious Jessica Borden. So tell everybody a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and why they should know you, because I think everybody should know you.
Well, I appreciate that so much. So I am located here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am the director of technology for our KW Downtown Market Center. I have been in a technology adjacent leadership role since 2015. I've had a lot of hats. I've been an assistant team leader, been agent services, and now, I'm really devoted to helping our agents here in our Chattanooga downtown office with technology systems, really digging deep into consulting and also running like a shared services marketing opportunity, which is really kind of how this whole conversation came up. So it's just been a really great journey. I started out as an admin at a team in Knoxville, my hometown. So I started out as an admin and I've been here since 2012. So I am 14 years into the KW machine and I love every minute of it. And I'm super excited to be here with y'all to share this success story and some ways that we made this happen.
I love that. By the way, she doesn't brag on it too much, but for anybody who doesn't know, the Chattanooga market centers are like, I don't know, 50, 60% market share sometimes. So we're talking like very substantial. So this is one of those places you want to really pay attention to this conversation because something's in the water up there. They're doing things right, and they're not a small market. Now, I know if we've got anybody here from like Anniston, Alabama, we have a market center in Anniston, Alabama, and Anniston controls more than 50% of their market share, but they have a very small MLS. So if we have any agents from here, you guys control the whole thing because most all of you are actually at Keller Williams. That's not the case in Chattanooga. So we're talking majority market share, not everybody at KW. And a lot more units than a smaller town like Anniston or Cleveland, Tennessee, or something like that. So I'm just putting some things in context. So what are we going to learn in this segment? Here's the deal. It's very simple and very complex. This is a more advanced session. I'm not going to say that this is going to be easy. I am going to say you're probably going to have to enlist some help. And so we're going to do an interview real quick with the agent who had success. We're hoping to get him on here, but we weren't able to because of timing. But essentially, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show you how to use an HTML email builder to craft a curated newsletter that you can put into command to send to a specific group of your database or segment of your database. That's all it is. So his particular one is investors. We'll learn more about that in a second. He's got some other segments. Anything you want to add before we hop into the interview?
Yeah, I would just say listen to this with an open mind because what we did in the first session where we were really like analyzing and creating those buckets of contacts, um, the agent that's going to be interviewed is going to be really discussing that and how that was the linchpin and us being able to move forward with doing these very strategic marketing pieces.
100%. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to take us off spotlight and we'll just roll that beautiful bean footage. What's up, everybody? So excited to have an amazing guest with you guys here today from our one of our Chattanooga market centers. Actually, we have Jackson Malcolm, which is an amazing talent. So Jackson, real quick, just why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. I come from a very low middle class family, right?
Okay.
So we never owned any investments or really knew anything about entrepreneurship. So I became exposed to these things in college. I was a finance major. We were, doing mathematical models and stuff like that. And I learned about entrepreneurship and compound interest. So I just became obsessed when I was in college with being an entrepreneur, starting businesses. So I completely pivoted from my planned career. I was going to, go into corporate finance, and I started a property management company. So I did property management from my senior year of college until 2022. And that gave me the opportunity to be a business owner and to start buying rental property. So I came into real estate kind of from the investor, small business owner side. I was able to exit that business in 2022. And then that led me to where I am now, being a real estate agent. So that's kind of my background, a little bit about my perspective on real estate.
I absolutely love that. So you went to business school and you learned about different ways. You talked about compound interest and analytics. A lot of people don't seem to understand how these things can actually work and be super beneficial. So you come from this investor background. So is investors all you work with, or do you also do residential resale? I mean, what does it look like as far as, I guess, the breakdown of your real estate business?
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I always give that context when I'm talking about my business is it really kind of informs how I organized everything. So, residential, helping families buy and sell homes, I think that's always going to be the bread and butter of a realtor. But I always want to not be doing what everybody else is trying to do. So about half of my business, I focus on investors because frankly, a lot of agents don't have the knowledge or the desire to work with them. So I try to be, a big fish in a small pond wherever possible.
So let me ask you this then, before we jump into how you've been capturing this additional business from your investor contacts. What is the big difference to you when it comes to working with an investor over, say, working with a person purchasing their primary residence, and like this is their biggest asset? Like, how do you show up differently, I guess is what I'm saying, for these investor clients?
Yeah, to me, it's all about putting yourself in their shoes. So I've been on the opposite side of the transaction. I have worked with realtors to buy investment properties. And I've also, been a part of the process for my personal house. The motivation with each party is totally different. When you're buying your personal residence, it's all emotionally based. You're thinking about, do I love the area? Does it look good? Am I going to want to put roots down here? With investors, they are generally not very emotionally invested. To them, it's all about financial analysis, and do the numbers work? So I always kind of approach the two groups with that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective, because a lot of investors, they've got kind of their model, they've got their certain ranges, their cap rates, or any of these kind of other metrics that we look at, and they go, hey, I'm looking for this specific return on a property in this range that falls within my asset class and all this kind of stuff. So I love that. Well, you captured quite a bit of additional business from your investor circle, and so I know we also have Jessica on here too, which helped you out with this. So tell us about this, because I think this is what everybody really wants to hear, is how did he get all this extra business? Tell us about this success.
Well, so I'm Jessica Borden. I'm the director of technology in the office where Jackson works at Chattanooga downtown, and I have been so honored to get the opportunity to work with him on really kind of digging into his database. So Jackson has been coaching with our co-team leader here, Sean, at the office, and they put together some goals. And so then Jackson and I sat down and we talked about your goals, right? That's really what we did, is looked at what is it that you wanted to accomplish in what timeline. And we just started kind of checking those boxes off. Do you want to kind of share a little bit about that process and how that was for you as an agent?
Yeah. So my first few months as an agent, I think I did what a lot of people do, and I just kind of dove in without a great plan. I was just making deals and talking to people, and things were happening, but it wasn't organized enough to be streamlined. And I knew in the back of my mind the whole time, if you're going to have an actual business, it has to have systems and processes, and it has to have a marketing department. I really had none of those things. So with this in mind, I approached Jessica because she is the expert in that department. And we just kind of started asking, how do you systematically communicate with everybody that you know? Um, I think the part that works so well is Jessica encouraged me to break it down into different groups because each different group needs a different type of communication. We started to realize, in my property management company, for example, I have emails for about 1,000 former tenants. Well, they are going to need maybe a renter to homeowner smart plan. So we would hit them with communications tailored to that. Um, and you might have your personal sphere that is going to be totally different. And then you might have your investor group that their motivations are going to be totally different. So it was all about when they open that email or when they get that phone call, what are they going to want to hear that they're going to listen to me?
I love that. So providing value to these specific segments within your sphere, quote unquote, whatever that
Yeah.
looks like. I love that. So, all right. So tell me what success. So y'all sent out you sent out an email newsletter directed towards investors. We've definitely been talking a lot about investors here. What kind of email did y'all send out, and what kind of results did y'all get?
Yeah. So the newsletter is kind of two pronged, right? So the investors want market analysis and they want deals that they can buy. Those are essentially the two things that they care about. So in the very first newsletter, I put like a lot of effort into writing this analysis of the market. We talked about national, regional, and local. A lot of data, a lot of insights to help them invest. And then below that, I listed, gosh, it was probably 7 or 8 off-market opportunities that I knew about. And the response from people was, the market analysis is really cool, but they loved the fact that they had these off-market deals because as we've seen in the market right now, there's just a lot of stagnation. So as soon as you give people opportunities, they're just jumping on it like crazy. And what that taught me is the deals need to go up at the top and all the market analysis needs to get pushed down to the bottom.
Yeah, so having these off-market deals, I mean, these are things they wouldn't be able to just search through their own means. This makes you a valuable piece of information, a valuable source of information, rather, for them to be able to get this. I love that. So market analysis, properties, potential opportunities for them to buy. What were the results? What'd you get? I heard you got some business out of it, right?
Yeah, the response was really much bigger than I could have expected. I thought maybe 1 or 2 people might reach out about a property here and there. I had literally dozens of investors saying, number one, I haven't talked to you in so long. I'm glad to hear from you. But then number two, where are you getting all these deals? Why have we not talked about this earlier? And I said, I don't know, but we are now.
You
And it was
can't
really
divulge your source. It's fine. You've got your secret place that you go. I mean, it's like somebody slides you an envelope through like a door, or like a slot in the door, and they're like, "I got one for you." I'm just kidding.
That's right.
So Jessica had shared some stats with me here. Jessica, why don't you share some of those stats about like number of emails sent, opens, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so our most recent March campaign, which is where we put the deals on the top and we put the stats like and information at the bottom, and kind of a little bit of different things in between. We sent out 344 emails, and out of those, 355 emails, and 144 emails were open. So it was a little bit over 40% open rate on that, which, I know open rates can not always tell the whole story. And
True.
yet I think it's really important to note that these emails are getting opened. People are looking at them. There was also like a large number of clicks. So people were actually clicking buttons and links and maybe sending emails. They were taking action on a lot of the calls to action that are kind of sprinkled out throughout the entire email newsletter.
I
So
love
that's kind
that.
of big stats for the last one. I know, Jackson, you had several deals that went under contract from the first newsletter. Is that right?
Yeah, from the very first newsletter, I got 1.5 million in volume under contract.
1.5 million from sending 355 emails. I know that was on the second one, but guessing the list is about the same size. Like that's pretty amazing. Like, let's just be honest about that. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was blown away by the results. And when I look back at it, I think it was because of the type of email that was sent. So I talked earlier about the renter to homeowner smart plan.
Mhm.
I think we sent out, Jessica, it was about 1,000 emails to the tenants.
Yes, it was pretty close to 1,000. I think it was about 951 or something like that. But the tenant emails, they're being open at a pretty high rate as well. I mean, and the unsubscribe rate is extremely low. Um, Considering that these are people that haven't heard from you in a number of years.
Yep.
And we crafted that into what was really like a reintroduction email and then a follow-up of a true 8x8, 8 touches over 8 weeks with some type of value specific to moving from renter to homeowner. And we, were very intentional about what that order of operations was. And then we had them go into a very popular, familiar smart plan that you all have probably all heard about, which is the Kimber Walton 36 touch program
Yep.
after the 8x8. So we moved them through kind of following Gary's model in the MREA about going from, 8x8 to 36 touch. So really just working on trying to move them over into relationship with Jackson.
Well, and for
Yeah,
anybody
I think,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I was going to say, I think that dynamic right there has been the biggest lesson that I've learned from this whole thing is just because you sent an email doesn't mean that you sent an effective email.
Yep.
The tenant smart plan, I believe that will produce results. It's just going to be a much longer process of nurturing these people. Whereas I sent one newsletter to a third of the amount of people, but because it was very high quality and very
Mhm.
actionable, I got 1.5 million in volume just like that within a week. Um, so now I'm trying to tailor all of my marketing towards that. How can I make it very effective and actionable?
Yep, and everybody's on a different time scale. Just like you talked about where you finding these properties. You've got investors that have cash that are ready to go, that just they're waiting for the opportunity. That's all they need. They're ready to pull the trigger. They need the right opportunity. And so servicing them like that to be like, here's some opportunities. Do these fit within your criteria for your particular model? Yes or no. Either way, they're going to open those and go because I have a strong suspicion he will add something at some point that I am going to be like, yep, that's it. So those 355 that you have, let's say you have 144 that open every time. Let's just put that out there. You may have 50 deals sitting in there that you just don't know about over a specific period of time. You know what I'm saying? Because they're ready to go. They just need the right opportunity. I mean, I'm a small time real estate investor as well. I just need the right opportunity. Same thing. Okay. I just need the right property. And if so, we're going to figure out how to make it work. Like it's happening. So I love that. Okay. So, and by the way, just to kind of set some metrics for anyone who's not familiar that's watching this, 17 to 20% is like the average open rates for anything, okay, online. So having a 40% open rate is incredibly high. So if you're looking at your command database and you're looking at campaigns you're sending out, smart plans, whatever they may be, and you're going, my open rate is really low, then you need to ask yourself the question, are you providing value to this segment of people? And it's going to be different for everybody. Okay, like the things I need in my personal life are different than the things that Jackson needs in his personal life or Jessica needs. So when someone markets to me or presents offers to me or anything to me, it needs to be tailored to what matters to me, which is part of why we get in relationship with people. We get to know them. And even to piggyback on that, like if you had a group of people in your list that are like, hey, I thought about buying a second home for like a vacation home that maybe will Airbnb. Well, this could be a different segment of investors that maybe they're not ready to buy right now, but at some point they may be looking to buy that property. So how do you surface them properties in a particular area where it's okay to do, say, Airbnb or secondary homes or I'm just thinking outside the box here, then I think we've gotten too stuck in this one particular space. Um, biggest challenges. What were the biggest challenges to getting started on this? Because I think that's always a thing we need to ask. What stood in
Oh,
your way?
that's easy. Making the database, that was
Okay.
hard.
So names, phone numbers, email addresses, physical addresses. Did you get the whole thing, or did you need everything, or is it just segmentation? What was the challenge there?
Yeah, we primarily just did name, phone number, email address.
Okay.
And it was a lot of just, data compilation and asking people for updated contact info. We spent the month of January not really producing any results, but just doing that. And then it led in February to us being able to do what we did.
Okay.
Yeah. I would also add to that with the investor group, we even kind of took that even another layer deeper with that like kind of A-list group that you have. And we went in and put all of their neighborhoods where they owned property onto their contact record and have them now on neighborhood nurture, so that
Yeah.
they're getting neighborhood nurture on all the properties that they own, so they can kind of have a monthly kind of pulse on that market information for each property that's inside of their portfolio.
I like that. And that's going to add a lot of additional touches throughout the year so that they're not just getting this one email from you. Okay, so that was biggest challenges. What ahas have you had from this? We've already shared some of them, but what have been kind of your takeaways from this?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is I've always tried to think, would I want to receive this communication?
Mhm.
And if it's not something that I would want to receive, I try not to send it out.
Mhm.
I think of on my personal investment properties, I get about 10 mailers saying, I want to buy your house, or, let me list your house every single week. And what do I do with them? Take them, throw them in the trash.
Yeah.
I so we just sent out a group of mailers, and the whole thing that we kept repeating to each other is, are people going to want to see this?
Yep, it's the what's in it for me thing, right? That's you have to put yourself in their shoes. Okay, as we close out here, one piece of advice you would give someone thinking about jumping into this kind of strategy.
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give is take the time to make your database really usable. I think that's the hardest and frankly the least fun step, but you can't do steps 2, 3, and 4 if you don't do step 1. So really take your time, get your database right.
100% agree with that. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for your time. Jessica, thank you for your time. And cannot wait to see where this goes, because I do not see this being your one and done success in this. I see a lot more coming from this. And just thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
having me, Patrick. I appreciate you.
Hey, my pleasure. All right, guys, that was the interview. Oh my gosh, we got another prize. Sorry, I forgot this is in the middle of this. Oh, okay, hang on, that scared me just a second. All right. So I did these intentionally. I stuck them throughout the day, like I said, where I don't even know. I've forgotten all about that. So Jackson was awesome, wasn't he? Isn't that I love that. However, real quick before we jump into Jessica's portion here, down there, if you have not yet filled this out to say that you would potentially like to win a prize today, go fill that out. And our second prize of today, what is our second prize of today? It is going to be a t-shirt. We're going to be giving away another t-shirt. Here it is. It is the Gary Skull and Crossbones t-shirt. Hoist the skull and mustache. So if you haven't filled it out, go fill out that form. We're going to randomly pick someone from that particular form and give out a prize. So I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to do that. If you haven't already done that, I'm scrolling through. I'm starting to see some extra new ones down here. Big money, no whammies. No whammies. All right, and we're gonna cut it off. Okay. So I need someone to pick. Actually, hang on, I'll pick someone specific that's out of it. Tara, since you said something earlier today. Okay, Tara Tillman, I will call on you for this. Pick a number between 2 and 119. Between 2 and 119. I think you're on mute if you want to.
66.
60. Oh, 66. You did. She said the number. We need an extra prize for that. But seriously, let's see who it is. All right, is Rose Jean Julian still here? Oh, yay! Congratulations, you won. You'll be getting one of the Gary shirts. You'll be hoisting the sails. Let's see, Gary's skull shirt. And congratulations. So that was pretty awesome. Do y'all like the prize bit? Do we need to keep doing this?
Yes.
Love it.
Love it.
All right, here we go. Okay, we definitely we have so much to go through before lunch. I'm kind of like, we paced things maybe a little wrong. It's fine. It's fine. But here's what we're gonna do. Jessica, we
Yes.
are going to go through this in the most expeditious way, and you guys are gonna get a recording. Guys, this is an advanced topic. We cannot go through all the steps of inspiration and stuff. We can just give you a great framework. Here's some things I want you to know about this before Jessica takes it over. Here's some terms you need to know. ROI, return on investment. Y'all should know what this is. You may not. ROI, open rate, or sometimes, open rate is one of them. Okay, that's important. Which basically means that the percentage of emails opened out of the ones that you sent. That means someone opened the email and they clicked on something. What's the percentage of that? Delivery. Guess what, guys? We can't force any email provider to accept the emails we send them. So sometimes they get delivered, sometimes they don't. And that can be your fault. It can also be not your fault. So there's different things that go into that. Bounced emails, no email address exists, or the email server is full. There's less email server is full these days, but sometimes filters will be like, no, we are not delivering that. We're bouncing it back. And then unsubscribe. Guess what, guys? You're going to have unsubscribes. I just want you to go ahead and mentally prepare yourself so you don't get your feelings hurt. You're going to have unsubscribes. And the bigger your list gets, the more unsubscribes you're going to get. Because as you go wider, the content you're providing becomes less relevant for a small group of people. Meaning they're going to go, I don't need this. Also, have y'all noticed in Gmail, it's got that thing up at the top? You haven't opened an email from so-and-so in a while. Would you like to unsubscribe? They make it really easy. So don't get your feelings hurt, just provide value. Some other things to know about email, 3.9% active email users. This is from a little while back, but still a lot of people. Average ROI on email is $40 for every dollar spent. I would venture to say Jackson is way higher on his return on investment for what he's put into this email project. Average email open rate is 19.7%. He had dramatically more than that. Personalized emails have a 50% open rate. That's those merge fields where it's like, hi, Jessica, blah, 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 blah. Welcome emails are super popular, 68 to 82%. That's like you register on a site, you get the email kind of thing. We'll talk about that later in me and Evan's section. 2% about of visitors subscribe to an email list. Users do not like spam. 43% of users will not think twice before putting it in spam. Guess what? That's part of it. So provide value from the start. And 58% of email users check it in the morning. I don't know if that's relevant to this, but there you go. It's a stat that I had. So actually, Jessica, here's what I'm going to do, because we are at some time. Are you ready to just kind of run with this?
Yeah, I'm
know
ready.
I've got some screenshots. Here's a basic idea, one of them, because I did load some screenshots. I'm sure Jessica has more that she can show us. I'm going to turn this over to Jessica and let her drive to make sure that we get to this. So we talked about the how, the what, and all that kind of stuff, but like, how do we do this? How do we do this, Jessica? How do we make this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so excited to share with you all. And, I think maybe this is a topic that we could bring back another time, Patrick, and do like a
I
more
100%
class.
agree. Yep.
But so what we did, obviously we worked really hard in the database, and I'm sharing with you a screen share of the tool that we actually use to build these newsletters. So I obviously, because I told you all earlier, I do shared services with many agents. You may see multiple agent faces here on the screen, but I help a lot of different agents curate newsletters that will be very intentional for their business, right, in my market center. So with Jackson, when we sat down, I had a blank slate. Like I literally used this tool, which is called Stripo. There are many email builder tools that are out there. Another great one is BeFree.io, and I just choose to use Stripo because I have more template selections that are already kind of pre-guided or pre-built. And so what we did is we sat down and we really talked about like, what content do you believe is valuable? So once we did that piece, we curated these newsletters. So we used Stripo to build it. And so you can see here, like as I'm rolling down my screen, like how many deals that he had in his most recent April newsletter, right? He also has like an advertisement for a lawn care business that he is an investor in, as other opportunities where he does hard money lending and things of that nature in that space. And then we move into that market update. So sorry, it jumped, y'all. So we move into the market update. So the market update you can kind of see is right here. All of those things that we built were very intentional around this specific niche. So I think it's really important that if you all are looking at maybe doing a newsletter and curating that, when you're looking at your database and you think about the niche that you really could speak to, really drill down what is important for that person to receive, what is value to them. So I know we said that in the interview, like what's in it for them. So always ask that question. If you were them, and you have to really like remove yourself out of yourself and say, would you open that email, right? So when we built this, I'm not going to be able to go through how I built it, but we really sat down together and built it together the first time. And now all he does is send me the information and I plug it in for him. So it became a plug and play because I offer that as a shared service. Now, you could absolutely do this on your own. You could do this.
Let me get some clarity on this too, because we had a question about this and I want to make sure it gets in the recording because not all the chat gets in there. So Stripo is the platform that you are using to build an email.
Correct.
Stripo is not Command.
It is not Command.
It is a third party and it creates, basically it formats an email to where we can get HTML code to put in Command. So we use it to build the email because it has some more robust tools than what you might have in the Command email editor. And then we're just taking the code and sticking it into Command.
Absolutely. So basically what we do is we build the newsletter, we export the file, the HTML file, the whole file, right? You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to know how to do any of that. This does all the coding for you. So when we export this, we're able to then go into designs in Command and then import that into Command. So let me show you all in Command. If I was going to build a design, I would be able to go into designs and click on create design. That's our first step. And then we're going to create an email design. So
one of the things I want to say, because I mess up on this all the time when I do it, import design is not the import for this.
Correct.
Create design. We have to create the email and then what Jessica is saying next. So
yeah, absolutely. So
design. It's wrong.
Let me just export this really fast. So I'll have a file to pull in for you just for example's sake. So then when I get to this screen, now I have the import HTML. Hopefully you all can see my purple circle around my mouse, where import HTML. So when we click on that, this is where the magic really happens because we have the ability, and you can leave the legal header and footer if you don't build that in your email. But if like Jackson, we built it in his email. So we take it off, we uncheck it. And then instead of pasting code, because we're not coding, right? We're importing a file. So I can actually import the file if I can get up here to my.
And you may not see what she's doing there because it's hidden from the screen share, but she's grabbing it from downloads to pull in.
Here it is right here. So then I grab that file, and then when I import it in, y'all are gonna see it. It'll happen. It just takes a second. Not sure why it's taking that long of a second, but it's because we're running on time. But see, then you can see that the newsletter literally just imported, right? And so for every deal that we plugged in, we have an inquiry button. So that's one of the calls to action, right? We have many, many calls to action on this specific one, right? So we have all these calls to action. We have, learn more about these different opportunities. We have, his market analysis that he has in here. And then at the very bottom, what you did not see on my screen was real estate networking events, news, like it's very robust. And then of course, a connection capability to connect with him, as well as a place to subscribe to his newsletter. So what we did to subscribe to the newsletter is we built a landing page in Command, right? So here's his landing page in Command that literally is subscribe to my newsletter. They fill this out. I created a lead route, a lead management
So
route.
using the lead management tools we're going to talk about at the end of the day, you
Yes.
connected the lead source to the contact form to
Correct.
automatically put them on this newsletter.
Correct, to this specific landing page. So he only has one landing page, and that's the only one that we're using. Obviously, if you have multiple landing pages, it will fire the same lead route off for
It
landing
would, yeah.
page, but this is the one that we use. So he's grown his audience. He started with like 315, I think, or 320. And now we're up to 373 subscribers to the newsletter. So in April, we don't have those stats right in front of us, but I have them on my paper here. We sent 373, 158 of those were opened, 46 were clicked for a 42.4% open rate.
That's awesome. At 46 were clicked. I want you guys to hear that. Open rates are important, but the most important stat of any email newsletter
There it is
the click-throughs.
Yeah. And this isn't showing, this is the numbers to look at right here, 46.
Oh, we are not getting whatever screen you switched out to. It's,
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to show you the screen, but it's okay. We don't have to do that.
okay.
But that was the biggest thing, was we intentionally built the newsletter.
Mhm.
We curated the content for the audience. Investors is just an example. You could literally create first-time home buyer content. You could create downsizing content. You could create 55 plus, like if that's like your niche, right? You could create that luxury, commercial, any kind of specific niche that you have. You could create that content in a newsletter and deliver it to the people who would see that as value. So I think that's the biggest thing that we wanted to say, in the story that we wanted to share around this specific topic.
Absolutely. And that's where all this breaking up in the segmentation comes into place, guys. If you don't segment, if you notice, the hardest thing that he said from the agent perspective, of course, Jessica's like, she's got an admin heart too, like me, and like an operations side where she's like, that's no big deal. But like sometimes the agent heart, the higher D personalities, the higher I personalities, like, I got to work on my database. No, this is too much trouble. Well, how about this? What do you think 1.5 million under contract would be worth to you? Okay, let's just put it in that kind of context. It's work. I'm not going to say it's not work. And in that same space, we're actually going to be creating some post successes under your command. We're going to have some sessions we're going to call database deep dive. Okay, this is a total experiment. I meant to talk about it at the end of the last segment, but it's a total experiment. And here's the idea. And this is my gut check with you guys. What would y'all think if for 5 weeks we had a 30-minute session really early in the morning where we could all get on Zoom and work on our databases together? We would walk through the basic practices of it. You put it on your calendar. Here's the thing. It would be a high accountability session. What I mean by that is you show up on time or you don't get to join us. If you're there, your camera's on, I don't care if your hair is messy. We're not recording it. The idea is for us all to be in one place doing one thing. I recently listened to a Huberman podcast that my regional director had recommended, and they had this mathematician on there, and he was talking about deep work. He wrote a book on deep work. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I feel silly for not being able to remember it. And one of the things that they discovered when they researched deep work is people are more efficient when they all are in the same place working on something, whether they're talking or not, or working on the same problem. So mathematicians, what they often do is they put a whiteboard up and they make everybody stare at it. You don't talk to each other. You just stare at it, and you're like 40% more efficient by doing that. Okay. And the idea is there's a social pressure that happens where you go, I don't want to let Jessica down. I don't want to let Sam down. I don't want to let Jill down or Mondez down or whoever. I don't want to let them down. So I'm going to stay totally focused. I'm not looking at my phone. And so Cal Newport, thank you very much. That was correct. It's Cal Newport. And the whole idea is we would do that for database. So I saw a lot of yeses and I'm ins. So
I love that.
I think May 8th is going to be our first. I will send you guys a follow-up email to invite you. But like I said, it's going to be high accountability, meaning you turn your camera off, we'll see you next week. Or you don't want to turn your camera off, we'll see you next week. Or you come in 5 minutes late, we'll see you next week. It's not punitive in that. It's just we're here to do a specific thing. Let's all do it together. Is that fair? Does that make sense? Okay. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's more of a self-discovery. Hey, I'm probably more distracted than I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an accountability piece. So,
well, and speaking of accountability, I know that we're really probably about ready to go to lunch, but one
yes.
thing that Jackson and I did together and that you didn't see, right? You didn't see all of the deep work. You didn't see that. You just kind of saw the results side. What was really important is that we did is we created a Google Doc. He shared the Google Doc to me and would literally put his assignments in there. And then I had assignments in there, and we would like assign them. You know how you can like @ somebody on a Google Doc and
Yep.
like it's assigned to you or whatever. We would go in and we would check off the work that we would do. So it was almost like a race, like who was doing their part faster, you know, or how are we going to move together? So when he saw me checking boxes, he was in there like, I got to check some boxes, you know, like, and that accountability to each other, that I'm here to support you. I'm in this with you. I think that's the thing is like, whether it's your market center tech trainer, another leader in your market center, another agent that you work with, a teammate, whoever that is, like if you set yourself to be accountable or hold yourself able rather to do those activities with that person, knowing and having the voyeurism into the actions, you're going to be far more likely to actually go the distance and finish and do the work and have the results on the other side.
100% agree. Let's take a couple aha, then we're going to deploy a quick poll, and then we're going to go to lunch. Actually, real quick, Jessica.
Yes.
People are going to have follow-up questions on this.
Yes.
How do they get in touch with you if they have questions?
I'm going to throw my email in the chat. That is one way to get in touch with me. It's probably the easiest way for me to filter through. And I do think maybe if you're open to it, Patrick, in a subsequent month coming up, we should create another class on the region calendar if you want, so that we could dive deeper into like maybe the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metrics of actually doing a newsletter build, like a basic newsletter build, and how to do that and then workshop it into Command so people could deploy it. I think that there's a number of steps there that would be helpful for them to see. We just didn't have the opportunity to show that today.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. We'll look at putting that on the calendar and letting all you guys know. Couple ahas. What'd you see? What'd you learn? What do you think that you want to do?
I came to this class so that I could learn more about the newsletters. I've actually used something very similar to this, but it's been a while back. So I'm just having to really figure it out again. But that's why I came, was for that. Thank you.
Love to understand how to integrate all these command tips with what we already be doing with Follow-Up Boss. If anybody's looking at like a platform transition from Follow-Up Boss, you have a team or whatever, always feel free to reach out to me. That's one of the things I help teams with at times. So feel free. Stripo is one of them. Importing and defining segments. I love that. Sam, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just, I mean, seeing the theme from Ansley and Jackson and what Jessica just kind of said, I think it all comes back to the basics of we need to be focusing on our database. We need to focus on really segmenting it into specific groups, and then ultimately being very tactical about the type of messaging that goes out. And thank you, Jessica, for a really great how-to on how to make that very specific newsletter go out to a specific group.
Awesome. I love that. All right, let's do a poll real quick. And let's see what we get, guys. I've got a few questions here. Answer to the best of your ability. Let's see what kind of results we get. So let's say we have ROI. What is that? CTR. What does that mean? Open rate is more important. It is the more important email metric, true or false. Federal law requires that all email providers deliver any email. Is that true or false? So answer to the best of your ability. I am not a paid advertiser. No. Yeah, Stripo is the platform, though, that she used for that. It is a good one. And Lucy, I think it said that there was a free version that you can use to do a pretty decent amount. So if nothing else, check out the trials on some of these to see if it works for you and go from there. It's not rocket science, guys. The hardest part, database and getting your initial format together. I'm going to close out this poll. Share the results. Let's see. ROI does mean return on investment. Click-through rate. CTR means click-through rate, guys. Open rate is more important than email, is the more important email metric. I should have said the most, but the answer is false. It is not. Click-through rate's actually more important than open rate. However, open rate is very important. The problem is Apple Mail, if someone loads their Apple Mail, it can count as an open. And that doesn't mean they looked at anything. Click through, the only way a click through happens is they open and they click on something. So you have an interaction and they engage with your call to action. Federal law does not require anything, guys. There's nothing there. So y'all got that right. Okay, we are going to thank you so much, Jessica, for that. We're going to go ahead and close out this segment and we're going to go take a lunch break, guys. So thank you, Jessica. I appreciate all your help in this. This is very cool. And thanks again to Jackson for doing this. Jessica put her email down there to chat if y'all have additional questions, and we are going to try to see if we can get this on the regional calendar here in the future.